And how did I get interested in money first? Is because I inherited money. And guess what I did with it? My subconscious ran my show for 2.5 years until the money was down to 0.00.
There's 11 money saboteurs according to you. Can you name a couple of them just so that?
It's not just in the brain. So now we are expanding in psychology with somatic memories, and we recognize that memories are in the body. But it goes deeper than that.
Yeah, there's so many things we don't know. And if we block ourselves off from it, then we're stuck with pain and all this stuff. But if we open up and maybe there is something now that can help us, hey, let's go for it. Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Breakthrough Code. I have a really awesome guest for this episode for you. Somebody that I met actually probably within the past few months, but I feel like she's a good friend already. And she is going to help you today with clearing things from your mind and things that you know consciously are in your mind that you want to get rid of, memories, beliefs, things like that, but also things in the subconscious mind, which I'm really passionate about. How do we clear memories, beliefs, things that are stopping us from our subconscious mind? And Colette is an expert at that, and she's going to share some ideas with you specifically around money blocks, which I know some of you will find very, very interesting. Colette Streicher is a licensed psychotherapist, and she's also the founder of MAP, and MAP stands for Make Anything Possible, which is really cool. You know, in the book, The Breakthrough Code, one of my, the subtitle of it is How to Live a Life Without Limits. So I don't believe we have limits, and I do believe everything is possible. And so I'm really excited to welcome her to our show. Colette, great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Tom. I love it. I love to be in your presence. We have been friends only for a few months, but it feels like much longer. Yeah. So thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. And the way I found Colette was a kind of happenstance. I was looking at my book just on Amazon, looking at some of the reviews, and there was another person's book. It said something about the superconscious. And so I looked at it like, I don't know if I want to read that. You know, I know about the superconscious. But then I said, you know what? Come on, open your mind, Tom. I read it, and it was a good book. But the person that wrote it referenced Colette as one of his mentors. And so that made me seek her out and learn from her. And I really have enjoyed knowing you for the past couple months. And I love the I don't know, the technique or what you want to call it, the way that you do work with the memories and the conscious minds. One of the things I talked about in my book, The Breakthrough Code, was you have to clear out the old baggage in order to move forward, right? You can't build this dream on a trash dump. And so I really loved the strategy you used. Tell us how you learned that strategy. How did you learn that? Because I know that I've heard the story before, but you were trying to think about how to treat somebody, and it was like more intense than what you were thinking this person was going to have, and you had to go to school and learn. But take us through your journey a little bit.
Yes, well, as you can hear, I am French, even though I live in Texas. So I've been living in Texas and in the US for many years, but I'm keeping my accent. So I was, born in a family where it was not always easy, especially my mom was very, very depressed. And I decided at 9 years old, I'm going to be happy. Not like everyone else in my family. So at 12, I read Freud. I do my own psychoanalysis. I mean, I was already on a journey to discover.
Well, you're reading Freud. That's awesome.
Yes.
That's like me too, though. Because my dad passed away when I was 3. We had a very challenging life, and I was reading books like Your Erroneous Zones by Wayne Dyer when I was like 12, things like that too. So I can definitely identify with you. That's really interesting though.
Yes, I even had such a low self-esteem. I was in pain about that. So I developed my own technique. One day I sat by and say, okay, let's do that. And it helped me. So I was already on the journey of discovering and knowing that the mind and emotions really are at the core of happiness, of course, in life. But also later on, I discovered at the core of everything.
Mm.
If you are unhappy, stressed out, anxious, depressed, there's no way you can be in your highest state of intelligence and creativity and flow. So I knew at the core of me that if I had to master something, it was my mind and emotions.
Mm.
So I kept going, and I also had the body to master because I was sick a lot in my 20s. So I ended up doing a lot of yoga, meditation, but Reiki, massage, every type of massage, Chinese medicine, Japanese medicine. So I spent a decade learning about the body, mind, energy aspect of it. Then in my 30s, it's all about my own mind, because I'm a young mom and you're a father. So I don't know if perhaps remember, of course, it's not always easy.
Yeah.
And for me, I was very reactive, actually. So I realized, time to go to psychotherapy. So I did my work. And then I wanted to help others. It's often the case. So I moved to America in 95, and then I began a journey of course, going to the university, getting my master's degree, specializing in family therapy. But I never believed in long and painful therapies.
Right.
So I immediately looked around. I was in America for the cutting edge, So I looked and I found Gary Craig. So I began with EFT. I'm sure you've done that. Done that. Many others, energy psychologies, and then NLP, MDR, hypnosis, resonance repatterning, a whole bunch of things for 15 years.
Yeah.
I was just fascinated by how can it go faster than that? I was always impatient. And then also the other question I always had to assess every method was, could it be gentler? Because some methods are not gentle. Suddenly, I had some clients who had been to trauma therapy and they spent 3 days every week crying and recouping from the week before. And so how could we be gentler, especially when we treat trauma? And, everyone has had trauma. I mean, you begin your life with that, and me too. And so the third thing was, can it be easier? Because some methods are very complex.
Gentler, and easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because easier, it's like, can a baby can benefit from that? Some method you have to imagine and follow deep instructions, and there's no way a 5-year-old can do it, you see. So I wanted the children to be able to receive, and also people like Alzheimer, or, they might not be able to. So I wanted something easier. And then eventually what I wanted is complete. That means it feels complete when you have done the work, and you don't have to keep going and going.
Right.
Yeah. So I had an example yesterday in my webinar. Someone said, well, it's a childhood trauma. I have been analyzing it. And she was in her 40s at least. All my life. And I still feel something there. So when we went to it, it was not something. It went immediately up to a 10.
Level 10,
She had been analyzing it and doing things all her life about it. And then in 25 minutes of the MAP method, as you know, it went down to 0. And she felt complete.
When it goes to 0, Colette, does it typically stay at 0?
Yes. Because once it's at 0, it's complete.
Right. The structure is undone.
Yes. And let me tell you perhaps what is complete for me. I learned that along the years because, as you know, I have studied since I was 12, especially 18 when I began with going deeper into yoga. And so the chakra system, the Chinese meridians, everything I learned, I realized that there were memories and emotions connected to those layers, if you want, to those aspects. And when I learned in psychology, it was supposed to be just in the brain.
Right.
And that didn't make sense to me. It's not just in the brain. So now we are expanding in psychology with somatic memories, and we recognize that memories are in the body. But it goes deeper than that.
Yeah.
Through my own experience and own learning of my entire lifetime, I realized that to be complete, memories have to be addressed from the cellular memory, your DNA, and now research actually proves that too. But definitely trauma is generationally transmitted. So that is huge and not accessible through a talk therapy, for example. You know, you can't.
Yeah, we just had somebody at our house recently, a friend that was over, and she was talking about a relative of hers that has been in therapy for, every week for, I think, 10 years or, 15 years, 20 years, something like that. I mean, it keeps going, right? Probably not getting a lot better, but just keeps going. So what we're talking about is how can you really put to rest a lot of this stuff that's not making us feel good and move on, and there may be another one that you find you've got, right? But don't analyze something for 10 years, the same thing.
Exactly. That's, yeah, you totally get what I'm meaning here. And so there is these cellular memories, but energetic, the Chinese meridians. I studied Chinese medicine a lot. The organs, for example, the liver holds anger. So if you have a lot of anger, you're going to have a liver issue, also the body-mind relationship. But anger is recorded there. So now these are like old unconscious, totally subconscious memories. You can't address them through a conscious mind. Now there is the chakra system, which is, the Ayurvedic medicine, the yoga, if you want, background that has been connected through Candace Pert, who has been who was a PhD and an amazing researcher. Yeah, she has connected actually those endocrines, the endocrines of the center of the body, with the chakra system. And those endocrines are literally capturing, if you want, emotions. And she has written the book, The Molecules of Emotions. And so the body definitely around this, I have noticed a lot around the throat chakra, communication, not telling you, not being able to express yourself. Not saying your truth when you cannot. That creates a lot of thyroid issues. And again, super subconscious, so the body, mind, energy being connected. And then there is more. I mean, I personally believe in different timelines and different lives. I believe in it because originally I was just open-minded. It's like, okay, let's see what happens. And I did some research with my clients, and I found so much result treating especially phobias with going back in past lives.
Well, one of the books I read when I was much younger, maybe not 12, but I was maybe 14 or 15, was a book called Illusions. Did you ever read the book Illusions?
No.
And it was by the author that wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull. It's a little parable, but and the kind of the almost like the Christ figure in this, because Jonathan Livingston Seagull was like a Christ story, right? But the Christ figure in Illusions was this pilot. He was the kind of the guru, but he had been this big guru, and then he didn't want to do it anymore, so he bought a plane and he was just traveling around the world. And this young girl came, because he would give rides, for a few dollars, and no one knew who he was because he had left his thing and probably looked a little bit different. And this little girl was afraid to go up. And then, he talked about, it was just something from a past life. And listen, I know not everybody believes in that, but like you said, you were open to it. And then once that was dealt with, she went in the plane, and it was like really beautiful and wonderful. So I think the thing that we should be open to if we have an issue is not, dogmatic. No, this is the only way it is. Like, be open to, like, how can I get beyond this? And that's what you
Yes,
were. And that's what I look at too. Like, it's not like, because there's so many things we don't know. And if we
exactly.
block ourselves off from it, then we're stuck with pain and all this stuff. But if we open up and maybe there is something now that can help us, hey, let's go for it.
Absolutely. And, you can take it as a metaphor. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be literal. If, it's just a way to think about something. And now there is lots of research and universities doing research on that and having proof of the pudding on that. So, however, I have seen so much results. Like yesterday in my webinar again, someone had a money block. I was talking about money block.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing for like 10, 15 years, no results, feeling very graspy and wanting things and needing. And so she took that subject, and then it went back to a place for her. She saw herself on the street begging in another timeline.
Yeah.
Obviously it was not this one,
Yeah.
but that was the same energy,
Yeah.
begging. So once we cleared that, then she saw another one, which was generational.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about the impact of generations.
Right.
I have a story if you want, I can tell you. I have two of them about generations. One of it is just the father, the next generation, the past generation.
Yeah.
So I had a client who was a designer in Houston, and he designed for only one family, a billionaire family that has so many houses that he goes from one house to the next, and then he has to go back to the first one to renovate. And turning 50, comes to me and say, I am at the brink of bankruptcy. Say, what happened? Well, I renovated the last house and this billionaire doesn't like it. He doesn't want to pay for it. And I'm in complete debt. I say, do you have any other clients? He says, no, I have only one client. All right. And so we did a map session, and he remembered, which was pretty evident, but when we know it, but if not, that his father actually fell in bankruptcy when he was exactly the same age.
Oh.
50 years old. And since then, he says, there is not a holiday, a Thanksgiving, without recalling the bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And they have been stuck with it for like, oh, well, he's 50, so I don't know, perhaps 30 years.
Yeah.
And he has reproduced it.
Wow.
So now, after a few sessions, clarified, was able to, first of all, realize that he put himself in a very dangerous situation.
Sure.
If you have only one client, imagine that.
Yeah.
That was a subconscious pattern, a subconscious sabotaging.
Right.
So that he actually reproduces the event. Because what your subconscious tries to do is actually reproduce the past until it is integrated and accepted. If not, the brain is like on a loop that is not finished, and it's trying and trying and trying to complete the loop. And so that happened there. Yeah. Now, there was another one that was similar, but it's another designer. And she was designing, she was a very successful person. Like, she used to be at the top 10 in tennis. And like when she was like 30 years ago, I mean, she was amazing. So at 17, she made a fortune, lost it all, went to a business, made a fortune, lost it all. Another one, lost it all. And then we were talking, and I said, well, that seems to be a pattern here. So let's do a map session. So we did, and she suddenly remembered. And when she lost those businesses, it was because someone stole the money. Someone was unethical. So there was something like that. It was not her spending it. It's just the partnership was not right. And then she suddenly remembered a grandmother who was very rich. She had oil fields. gave everything to the gardener
Mm.
at the end of her life. So
Mm.
imagine older children expecting the fortune,
Yeah.
the disappointment, the anger that she had lost her mind, gave it all to the gardener.
Yeah.
And she was reproducing that over and over to try to solve that. Because it has not been solved. Nobody had integrated that.
Yeah.
When she did, now her business is to the roof, and it has been already almost 10 years. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, the subconscious is always trying to help. But it's not judging. It's not saying, hey, I'm going to create this. It's going to be really painful for you. Like so I'm really sorry. It's always like, no, this is what you need. This is the programming in here. This is what you need. Right. And so we keep running these patterns. Probably the pattern that I see very, very often when I'm coaching somebody is the pattern of people that can get almost to the point of really making it, going big, and they've got all the talent, they look really good, and then they just can't get it across the finish line. But and I tell them, this is your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind doesn't say, you can only do what the subconscious mind says yes to. And when it's afraid of that because of some pattern, or it thinks that's going to be bad for you, it'll pull you back right from the finish line. It'll get back over here, and then you suffer and struggle, and then you create another opportunity, and it happens again. But this is why what you do is so powerful, because the subconscious mind can be treated, and it can be treated in a lot of different ways. And you mentioned many things along the way. The tool you're using now that I remember you saying, I don't know, it was a conversation or something where you had a friend was sending a daughter to have you treat her, and then you looked at you didn't think it was going to be like that intense, and it's like, whoa, okay, I better go learn something else. And that's where you really made a really cool discovery that you've now brought out and helped a lot of people with. Can you talk about that?
Yes, totally. A client came from France, and she was a teenager. And she didn't tell me, the parents didn't tell me. They were hoping that silently I would treat her.
Yeah.
And she had a bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
There was no way in 2 weeks VIP that I could do anything about it. I'm not a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And so I quickly studied psychiatry. And that's when I found the work of Dr. Flint. Yeah. So as you know, I had been already studying for 15 years, everything that I could find. But Dr. Flint had found that the mind was willing to heal itself, could be trained to heal itself. And for him, it was the subconscious healing itself. Yeah. So I thought, wow, that's interesting. So I contact him. He becomes my mentor, my son's mentor. But soon enough, remember that I have those 4 questions, like, is it fast enough? Yes. Is it gentle? Yes. Is it easy? Yes. Oh, it's not complete. So I realized Dr. Flint's work is not complete because he was a psychologist, and he passed away a few years ago, but he was a psychologist. So therefore the memories are supposed to be in the brain from conception to now. And that's what the subconscious is. But according to my entire lifetime of research, the subconscious is hidden in the DNA, in the energy system, in the story of the soul, and so that's why it's not complete. So then I was wondering, how do I stretch that idea of the mind healing itself? But now the holistic mind, body, mind, energy, story of the soul, mind, with a big M if you want. And I got a download, like a guidance, a word, a long word, a word every single day, like sometimes 20 times a day, like constantly every hour, like I'm thinking of that thought, which I had never thought about before. And that was the word superconscious. I got the word superconscious. I'm thinking, what's the deal? Please give me a sentence, superconscious. So I was waiting. Then after a while, I say, okay, let's find out. And I remember then, because that's where I'd heard it once, is that Carl Jung was using the term superconscious to talk about the collective consciousness, the archetypes. And as I had studied also quantum physics and philosophy and all of that and spirituality, I realized, oh, this is the connection with the field of infinite knowledge.
Right.
The field of pure consciousness, of pure wisdom that is known. Like there is nothing unknown in that field.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I thought, okay, it has full wisdom, has never been hurt. The part of us that we can find in meditation, when you find the I am, when you find the observer, but you can do much more than be the observer. That part of us can be actually, and that's what I discovered, and I was guided to do that, is that we could ask the superconscious for help.
Yeah.
And so the superconscious, and then I was thinking, okay, what if I designed new instructions that address finally the chakra system, the cellular memories, etc., so that it's actually complete. The method will be complete. And we can ask the superconscious through those new instructions to be instructed to go into, for example, the chakra system and heal the throat chakra and all the memories related to talking and not communicating well. And so I tested it out with my son, and Dr. Flint was absolutely supportive, actually. He said, Colette, this is genius. You go for it. And I'm thinking, well, Dr. Flint, don't you want to change your technique? Because and he said, oh, no, Colette, I've been retired for 17 years. I mean, I'm not going back. It's your time. Go for it.
Yeah.
So I took it with my son. And for 2.5 years, we just, listed all types of memories, studied many other methods if we had to, so that we didn't forget any types of memories, to be the most holistic and complete possible.
Yeah.
And then we ended up with a manual with all those new instructions, Dr. Flint's instructions, and more and more. And we systemized the entire world of psychology.
Yeah.
And,
That's
not
amazing.
any psychology, holistic psychology.
Yeah. And in my book, my book's a parable, but I write about the superconscious, and that's the word that, I really resonate with, obviously, as not a body part, right? It's we live within it, right? It doesn't live within us. I mean, our brain is within us, right? That's kind of the conductor, but we have this super conscious mind, and it's been talked about, for many years. Actually, it kind of came to me too, but then I was just reading the autobiography of a yogi by Yogananda, and he's talking about the super conscious, right? And this was a book back in the 1930s and 40s and things like that. So there is, and then many other people talk about it, but there is this beautiful ability we have to go outside of who we think we are and receive information, receive help, and with what you're teaching, actually have our subconscious mind reprogrammed, right? Go in and have, things that aren't working deleted, where we just don't feel the energy trapped in an emotion anymore, which is so cool. And so powerful. Like, I don't know if people are getting just from the description how powerful this is, but everyone that's listening, think about something that's been bothering you for a while, or even a short period of time, and you're thinking about it and it's stressing you out, or you're just not feeling good and you don't know what it is, but there's something down in your subconscious mind that's robbing your energy and creating this pattern of pain. What if you could let that go within minutes and now be free? Because I think every time we have an emotion or we have a memory that is something that doesn't feel good, we've got trapped emotion, we've got trapped energy there. And now think about that. Like, you don't have all your energy moving forward, right? Because part of your energy is trapped in past events. And so, or we have a belief that's almost like blocking your energy. And so once that gets opened up, now you start to see the world differently. You start to see possibilities that you didn't think you could even do before. And that's how you start to create breakthroughs. So I love your work. I love what you're doing. You said that money is one of the big things you work on with people. And actually you gave us a couple of examples around money, right? Where, you know, they make money, they lose money, they make money, they lose money. I only have one client, I lost money. There's 11 money saboteurs, according to you. Can you name a couple of them just so that people can hear them and they'll probably identify with a few? And then the good news is that if you have any of these, the methodology we're talking about can help you not have them anymore.
Yes, exactly. And how did I get interested in money first? Is because I inherited money. And guess what I did with it? My subconscious ran my show for 2.5 years until the money was down to 0.00.
Yeah.
And when I saw that number, I didn't even know how it could happen, that it's not minus, it was a 0.00. And I say, that's not my bank account. It's not the right one. And then, yes, it was. And I realized, wow, the subconscious ran my show. And I am a psychotherapist. I've been studying all my life, and I still couldn't avoid it. So then I realized the subconscious is very powerful. And then I realized going to 11 different therapists in a year, because I was going to the chakra one, to the meridians one, to the past life ones, to the generational biodecoding one. And I realized everyone was only focusing, every method was focusing only on one type of memory. That's why I had to go to everywhere, because I knew there was more to it to complete. So I learned about that diversity and the depths of the subconscious in that experience. So that's how I was interested. And I finally transformed myself and ended up with an international business now. It's very thriving. But 11 money saboteurs came from that idea. So one of them is money trauma. For example, your dad lost his job when you were 12 years old, for example, or your family member. You lost everything in the stock market, or someone stole your money, like the designer. These are money traumas. Some people, they were in whatever the money thing. I remember the different types of money, the crypto, and boom, they were stolen, the money. All these are trauma. You cannot. I had trauma too, because I gave money away to people who supposedly invested, and it was badly invested. It was a disaster. And I had to work on that and clear that trauma, even the relationship, and forgiving them and forgiving myself. And as long as I still had that, it was like a heavy backpack. Nothing would work for me. I was stuck. And when I cleared, I did take 2 weeks off just to clear everything I knew I needed to. And poof, now I was free. And as you said, the energy is free. Your attention is actually your energy that creates. That's how we manifest reality. And when you have traumas, beliefs, emotions, it's sucking, it's using that energy to survive. You know, so it's like a computer in the background. You have all those things running, using all your energy. So one of it is money traumas. So just check in your life. Have you had up and down? Are you losing things? Have you lost a job one after the other, etc., etc.? Opportunities that seem to be opportunities, and so all of that has to be healed.
And what's really important too, though, because people have things like that happen, and then they just go, "Oh, that's just bad luck," or, you know, that's just life. That's unfair. One of the most powerful things I think any of us can do is like take responsibility for whatever's showing up in your life. You know, when you say that it's just, you know, it's not me, has nothing to do with me, you know, it's just bad luck, or I was in a bad situation, you really are a victim. You don't have any power. When you, and I'm not saying maybe everything that happens is not because of us, but if you at least delve into claiming it, you know, and taking responsibility for what's being created in your life, you now have power, and you can work on changing it. You can work on making it better. when you're always just blaming it on, this or that person, like you said, like, you gave money away to people that didn't invest it wisely. If you just say, yeah, there's just, really crooked people in life and I got screwed by several of them, then you're the victim, right? You don't have
Yes.
any power. You're going to keep yourself where you are. When you say, you know what, at some level, I made a choice to give it to that person because my subconscious mind is very, very powerful. My superconscious mind is incredibly powerful, like, to infinity.
Yes.
And I made at some level, maybe not consciously, but there was some part of me knew that that person was not going to do well with my money, and I still made that choice. Now that's powerful though.
Yes.
Because you're like,
Yes.
yeah, okay, I screwed up on that, but I can change that. Like that's me. It's not the outside world is always out to get me. And when I learned that, because like when my father passed away, I was just like, life's not fair. I got screwed over. Wah, 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 me. And I had that belief, and I was only 3, right? But so I had that belief in childhood.
Sure.
And then finally I just said, you know what? I get to choose after reading all these books but my pain led me to reading just like yours did, to exploring, to opening my mind. It was actually a blessing. Now I wish I had my dad, obviously, but when we come into life, not everyone lives to 90 years old, right? There's certain paths that people are on. And for me, my dad passed away very young in his body. I still feel very connected to him and talk to him all the time. I mean, I don't see him
Yes.
physically or things like that, but I feel like he is around. And I was able to shift my story about what life is and how that event happening to me at a young age actually made me who I am today, because it made me read books I wouldn't have read. It made me start businesses at 10, 11, 12 to kind of help my family out. It made me be more of a leader. I mean, there's all these things that came from it when I stopped being a victim.
Yeah, and that was the case for me. It's like I stopped being a victim. I took responsibility, cleared,
Yeah.
and forgive myself
Yeah.
too. I had to forgive myself, which was harder. So I did all of that, and then I had my full energy, and then I ended up creating a new method in the field of psychology, thanks to that, because that led me to the interest about money blocks and all of that. And then I found the how to do it, how to be really holistic and complete by this other experience with the client, ended up creating the method map, clearing all my money blocks and realizing my dream. So it actually, I'm very grateful for this investment not to have worked, because I would be in real estate, which is totally not me. And I guess my soul knew that too. So sometimes it's not just your subconscious programs, it's literally you're going in a wrong direction and you are going to be blocked. So that's also an aspect to be seen. But talking about the 11 money saboteurs, so we talked about the traumas, like then the emotions related to money itself.
Okay.
I had a friend that was so traumatized and so poor in childhood, he was literally allergic to money. When I gave him $100 on his skin, he would just panic, have a panic attack, connecting with money itself. So what are the thoughts, the emotions you have about just money itself? Is it, the origin of all sins, or is it something that is beautiful, or this is just energy, which it is, So all the emotions you might have about money. Some people are very angry at money.
Yeah.
Like this young man, he was angry at money.
Yeah.
And he was projecting it on money because his dad or his parents were horrible. So instead of being angry at his dad, he was angry at money not being there.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
So
And when you think about money, money is just energy. And a friend of mine actually, his name is Ken Honda. He's a very famous Japanese author and the best-selling kind of motivational author over there. He wrote a book called Happy Money. And he said he was at a party one time and someone said, can I see your wallet? And so, pulled out his wallet, and she looked at the money in there, and she said, "You have happy money." And this guy, obviously, when he looked at money, or even money he had, was not happy money. And so you want to almost get rid of it. Ken Hunt is very, very wealthy, but the energy that he thinks about, right? The emotion he thinks about money is happiness. It's joy. It's abundance. It's serving others. I mean, it's all these great things, and a lot of people don't have that. And so the amount of money, and actually I did another thing. I learned pranic healing, and this was interesting. They had us take our wallet out, and then they were measuring the energy, right, in your wallet. Pranic healing's about energy healing. And so you'd put your wallet down, and then people would see, the energy field, kind of like the aura, the energy field. And fortunately mine was like really, this was really big, right? But yeah. And I didn't grow up that way, though. I mean, my mom struggled financially. I had to make a shift at some level, and I'm not exactly sure when I made it. But it is really interesting, like the energy that we associate. So I totally get what you're saying.
Yes. And a lot of it is completely unconscious. So if money is not a friend for you, who is it? You see, for example, I have another money saboteur is your subconscious association with money in terms of character. So let's say, Tom, if money was a character in a movie or in life, who would be money for you? And I would like to invite everyone here to play with us.
Life. Wow.
What character would be money? And just take the first image you get.
It would be a really happy character. It would be somebody that is loving, caring, very successful, but very generous. And it's the person that kind of popped up, and I don't know this person, but I've been mistaken for him several times, is Matt Damon. My son has met him. And Matt Damon, the actor.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting, and many other movies. But he just seems like a really good person, not because I look like him. I'm the older, worn out version of him, but that's just what popped in my mind. But yeah. But someone who's really like joyful and fun and doing things, not someone who's serious and, stressed out and that type thing.
Great. I mean, that's why you're reflecting that in your life. I had another podcast, and it was so funny. The guy said, it's like Santa Claus.
Okay.
And I said, all right, is it coming only once a year? So we laughed about that.
Yeah.
But, someone else would say it's like a guy that I can't trust. He's on his bike and he's like whatever, or someone is just posh and don't talk to anyone. Or it's very interesting what is going to come up. And it talks to your subconscious. So in a map session, we would use the superconscious to treat the metaphors. You see, so that's not something you can analyze to the core, but the superconscious could neutralize that subconscious patterns and beliefs about money through a metaphor, for example.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? You explain the three levels of consciousness, the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the superconscious, with a great metaphor about an apple pie. Why don't you give that little metaphor? Because I think that'll give a better understanding.
Oh, yes.
Ordering an apple pie and
yes. Okay. So if you are a restaurant, so there is the client in the restaurant. You're the client. That's the conscious mind.
Yeah.
In the back, the kitchen, where there are all those recipes and those books of recipes. This is your subconscious.
Yeah.
And the manager of the restaurant that knows everything, that knows what's going on in the room and what's going on in the kitchen, is the superconscious.
Yeah.
So imagine you get a pie when you order an apple pie, and it comes back and there is ketchup in it and there is mustard in it. I was like, Don't go. I don't like that.
Terrible.
Come
Yeah.
back. I want an apple pie.
Yeah.
Comes back with like pepper and, you know, there's like everything in it. Why? Because they are following the recipe, and in that recipe book, someone has changed the recipe. It's not that good anymore. It's the program.
Yeah.
And so the superconscious is to go in the back room, look at the book, and realize there's been extra ingredients that are not necessary in that recipe. And once it changes that, the next time you order an apple pie, you get an apple pie.
Exactly. And so think about that in everyone listening in your life. You want to be wealthy. And that's conscious mind. I want to be wealthy. The programming in the subconscious mind is, no, he's never going to be wealthy, right? Or she's never going to be wealthy. And so you have disappointment after disappointment. Then you're really angry, like, why is this always happening to me? It's in your subconscious mind. The conscious mind can't outdo the subconscious mind, but the superconscious can. It can go in there and change those programs. I actually used your methodology, clearing methodology with a client after I had learned it, actually I'd learned it from the person you had coached, but I used it with a person who had something that went back to childhood, very successful person, but always had performance anxiety around things because of something that one of her parents had told her, comparing to another family member. And you need to be more like X, you're in. And so even though she was really successful, she was just always like, trying. And once that got neutralized, all of a sudden, all this stress went away, all this, anxiety went away, and things were just so much easier. And really, really cool application. And I was like, wow, okay, this is really powerful. Like that sold me on it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, it's so for example, one of the big subconscious blocks that we have, one of the big belief, I would say one of the biggest one is I am not worthy of that. And I discovered along my work that there is a lot of variety of worthiness. You can say, yes, I'm worthy of money. But then I had a client, he had plenty of money in his business. It was successful, but he was giving it all away to his expenses, and he didn't have profit. And I say, all right, now you're worthy of money? Yes, I'm receiving it. Are you worthy of profit?
Yeah.
And that was a no. Like, I feel guilty of keeping the money for me and this and that. And when we cleared that, the profit went to the roof. He was guided. He had discovered actually that there were leaks in the business.
Yeah.
He plugged all the leaks, and now he's sailing with total profit.
Love it. Love it. And the superconscious can find all these things that we're not consciously aware of and then fix it, like, rewrite whatever's there, do a change history, you call it. And the great thing is the conscious mind is not really in charge at that point. It's in charge of calling it in, the superconscious, but once it's there, like you just kind of let it do its thing. It's because it's so much more powerful than anything you could do, right? Like, just like you can't even imagine how much more powerful it is than what our little conscious mind processing 40 things every second can do.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so, faster, because you don't have to process consciously, which takes tons of energy, time, and years. It's much easier because you have actually nothing to do. That's something to train. That's why when I do my webinar and then people come and experience it for the first time, it's important to have this first experience to just learn not to try to push or manipulate through your conscious mind, but bring up the event or the situation and just notice, observe, be the observer while the superconscious is doing the work and you're just noticing, Perhaps your breathing is changing. Definitely the emotions are going down and down and down. And I had someone yesterday spend, lifetime analyzing like I said, and she was 10 and down to 0 in 25 minutes, just observing it. And then having insights that come. Your superconscious gives you clarity, insights, connecting the dots. It's amazing to see how your superconscious can do the work, and it can be as easy as that. And it's very private too, because you don't have to talk about it.
Yeah. And you can even use it on yourself. So once you learn it, right? And some people won't feel anything. Other people will feel like, I actually do feel things. I've always been very intuitive. I'll feel like little energy surges and like things like that, but it's super, super powerful. How can people learn more about this process and the things you do?
Well, Tom, I think the best way is to experience it, because it's really hard to imagine how that could be as easy and simple and gentle and all of that. So what we have here is you have a little gift for your audience.
Awesome.
And it's called a mini training. So it's just an intro session, if you want, of 20 minutes that just gives you information about MAP. And then if you are hooked and you want to do more, then you will have an opportunity to sign up for a very 2 hours with me to actually experience it in the first. So the opportunity, I think, is about $37. So it's very affordable to spend 2 hours with me, and you will have more.
2-hour program with you, and it was phenomenal. It was fantastic. Yeah. So, but to start though, they get a free 20-minute.
Yes, 20 minutes info session if you want. We call it training. There is also a PDF that comes with it in the email. But mainly it's to open your mind to what is MAP and what is possible.
Yeah.
And then after that, you can choose, if you want to keep going and join me with for a webinar.
I love it. And what's the link for that? Do you have the link?
Yes. Go.
Okay.
Yes. .map, M-A-P, coachinginstitute.com /Tom, T-O-M.
/Tom. Okay, awesome. And they get that for free. And so again, go.mapcoachinginstitute.com /Tom, my name. And I would recommend everybody take advantage of the 20-minute free training. Check it out. I had, I'm not sure I went through the free training. I think I went straight to the $37 offer, but my son and I did it, and it was fantastic. And you actually work on, in that free training, one of your either limiting experiences, memories, beliefs, and you clear it, right? So it's really, really powerful. And then this is a technique though that I think once you learn it, you're going to want to learn even more and use it the rest of your life. I've used it probably, I don't know, hundreds of times now, maybe even more than that. Like if I wake up and I'm not feeling good, like something's in my mind, bam, I just spend a few minutes before trying to go back to sleep. Because if it's in my mind, I can't get back to sleep anyways. And then just clear that. And then it's so powerful, so powerful. Many things will clear just off one time of doing the process. Sometimes, you get it from a 10 to a 2 and you come back, or you ask the superconscious mind to keep working on it. So this is a life-changing process. And Colette is an amazing teacher. You can see her great energy and the happiness that she brings into everything that she does. So I'd recommend everybody take advantage of this 20-minute free training and just check it out and see what you think.
Yes, I do want to clarify the 20 minutes is more information to nourish your left brain, to understand it better, etc. And then the experiences afterwards.
If you decide to move forward.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, it has been so awesome having you here, my friend. And thank you so much. Any final words for everybody listening on thought or two that might be able to kind of help them move forward today?
I would say everything is possible.
Yes,
it's really it.
Well, I believe that too. I mean, that's what my book was about. Yes, we are going to encounter challenges where we feel stuck. That doesn't mean things aren't possible. It just means pay attention to this area and now find a way to clear and have an end result you're really excited about, not just like getting a little bit better, or not just like fixing what needs to be fixed. I think the real way where I use the process I learned from you is to, when I am focused on a really big, huge, powerful end result, and then I feel resistance in my body, because our bodies do kind of point out to us where we have resistance. Then I say, all right, what is this? You know, what's this memory? Or what memory could it be? What belief could it be? And then clearing it. And now all of a sudden I have more energy, more power going in the direction of where I want to go. And I love it. So really powerful, powerful, powerful. One of the more powerful techniques I think I've ever learned. And thank you for being on with us. And I look forward to many more conversations with you.
Thank you, Tom, for inviting me. It was a pleasure.